House of Representatives is now in session. Please let the House come to order. Please stand as we're led in prayer today by the gentleman from DeSoto and remain standing thereafter for the pledge.
Let us pray. Father God, we humbly come before you today asking your blessings upon this place. Lord, as we seek to serve the people of the great state of Mississippi, we ask that you remind us constantly that we are supposed to first serve you. Lord, bless us in everything that we do. Bless those that work in this place to support us. And Lord, a special prayer for all the spouses back home. For those of us who have to be away for any length of time, give them peace, give them strength, and help them to make it till we get home to them again. Lord, bless us again, and we love you in Jesus' name. Amen. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk.
There's a quorum present, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We'll have the reading of the journal. Gentleman from Rankin moves we dispense with the reading of the journal. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Report of Select Committee.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Report of Standing Committee.
We have reports on the counter, Mr. Speaker.
Introductions of bills and constitutional amendments. Gentleman from Marion, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading of the introduction.
Their objection. Hearing none, we will do that. Resolution, petitions, memorials, and other papers.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. This time we'll have introductions of guests and visitors. Gentleman from Lee, Mr. Aguirre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like everyone to please make welcome in the North Gallery here. We have several guests here. We have Miss Susan McMahon, who is a constituent of mine and also the mother of Tupelo Senator Mr. Chad McMahon. We also have paging in the Senate, Miss Macy Dean, Ella McMahon, Kristen Smith, Mackenzie Newsom, Zoe Ratliff, Rachel McAlpin, Kate McAlpin, Tashanti Trice, and Lula Bigelow. Please make them welcome.
Gentleman from Warren, Mr. Denton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like the House to help me make welcome myself and Representative Ford, Representative Harness, Representative Foster, on behalf of us. Welcome the doctor of the day, Dr. Carlos Latour. He's an MD. He serves as a family medicine. He's president of the Mississippi Academy of Family Physicians. He's been here twice. Evidently we was working him, so he brought his nurse of 40 years with him today, Miss Janice Cochran. So let's please make them welcome. Thank you.
All right, I don't see any further introductions. We will go to the calendar, appropriations calendar. Vice Chairman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, every one of you should have on your desk a copy that was dropped off for you of the fiscal year 2023 House action. This is first House action, and this will explain total state support funds. Everyone should have one of these if you'd like to review it. Also, the total House action this year comes to $6,615,943,888. Total general funds total $6,054,084,178. And of this figure, the teacher pay raise is included in that of $220,004,185, and state employee health insurance of $9,267,050. All of these appropriations, special fund appropriations, have reverse repealers in them, with the exception of the Auctioneers Commission. The funding requested for these agencies is equal to LBR, and therefore all of these will go to the Senate as passed and in conference. And some of them have a little cleanup language in it, but it's all by LBR. We'll move to the calendar, Mr. Speaker, at this time, and I'll call up House Bill number 1.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the appropriation for the Athletic Commission. Again, this is adopted at LBR level of funding. The language, there's some new VCP language, and it added a reverse repealer, and that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions? Gentleman from Forest, Mr. Watson.
Mr. Speaker, I don't have a question, but with respect to the special fund appropriation, usually we consider those one block. My understanding is all of these appropriations are at the LBR recommendation. So my motion would be that we consider all of these appropriations, special funds, in one block vote.
Any objection? Is there anyone who wishes to have one set aside? Gentleman from Montgomery, identify for us the special funds. What items are those?
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker. Those will be items 1 through item 50.
All right. I'm going to give you a few minutes to look at those. Items 1 through 50. If you wish to have one set aside, please notify me. Gentleman from Warren, you have one? Which item?
Yes, sir. Item number 13.
All right. Anyone else? Gentleman from Pearl River?
Gentlemen, items number 18 and 21 is middle grade on here? And number 16.
16, 18, 21.
Yes, sir.
Gentleman from Choctaw, Mr. Hood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to set aside item number 35 and item number 22.
Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott.
Yes, sir. I'd like to ask you to have the item number 8 on the House Appropriations calendar.
Number 8.
Yes, sir. 1588. I'd like to ask to have that set aside.
All right, we'll set that one aside. Okay, I don't have any others. I don't see anybody else. So that's items 8, 13, 16, 18, 21, 22, and 35.
Mr. Speaker, I would also like to have item number 2 set aside.
Number 2?
Yes, sir.
All right. We will take the rest of these up in a block then. Give Madam Clerk a moment to program the computer. Gentleman from Fayette, Mr. Williamson, what purpose? You seek recognition.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to item number 14 if it hasn't been already.
Okay. Any other item? This is the last chance. Madam Clerk has to program the computer, and if we go back and change one, she has to start all over again. I don't see anyone else. There will be no other item set aside.
pull those bills out for me here, those that are mine. And it may just be the bill. Yes, sir. No, it's well, it's mine, but it's level. LBR right. It's exact, there's no money in addition. Exactly. Well,
All right, Madam Clerk indicates she has got it programmed. So the gentleman calls these bills up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. You have anything further on these bills, gentlemen?
final passage, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on any of the bills? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bills, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Closed machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 115 yeas, 5 nays, the bills pass. All right, gentlemen, we had set aside number 2 at your request. We will go back to that one.
Yes, sir. Call up House Bill 1582, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House, the reason I had this bill set aside is this bill has no reverse repealer in it at the request of the agency. They're asking for nothing more than what LBR's recommended, and they're happy with that. And that's an explanation of the bill.
Question. Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott. She passes. I don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1582. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 113 yeas, 6 nays, the bill passes. Brings us down to number 8.
Call that bill up, Mr. Speaker, House Bill 1588, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House adopted the LBR level of funding with the Board of Nursing Home Administrators. It has a reverse repealer in it, and the only changes to it is a $216 health insurance adjustment, and that's an explanation of the bill.
Question. I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1588. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 120 yeas and 2 nays, the bill passes. Next item, 13.
Mr. Speaker, can we skip that item and come back to it? Go to item 14, the Fire Academy.
Yes, sir. Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules to be suspended. Bill considered engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House adopted the following changes to the LBR level of funding. The only change to that is, again, the add of health insurance adjustment increase, and it also has a reverse repeater, Mr. Speaker. Now, an explanation of the bill.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1594. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 120 yeas and 2 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Mr. Speaker, let's go back to House Bill 1593, item number 13. Department of Insurance.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the I'm sorry, what? Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, the House adopted the following changes to the LBR level of funding, and it was simply the insurance increase adjustment that we made to that, and this bill also has a reverse repealer. That's an explanation.
I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs House Bill 1593. You favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 112 yeas and 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Item 16, Mr. Speaker, House Bill 1596. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, in this bill, the House has adopted the LBR level of funding, and the only changes to this is, of course, the health insurance increase to that, and it has a reverse repealer, and that's an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions?
Final passage.
I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs House Bill 1596. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By 108 yeas and 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to recognize the gentleman from Harrison, Mr. Bennett, to handle the next bill. Item number 20, call it up. House Bill 1601, make the usual motions. I'm sorry, number 18. House Bill 1596.
Okay, number 18 is 1598, Parks
1598.
Commission. Is that the one you want?
Yes, sir. Call it up, make the usual motions. Recognize the gentleman from Harrison.
Gentleman from Harrison, expert on art. Recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You gonna call the bill up?
Yes,
Gentleman
call up
calls the bill
House
up,
Bill.
moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Of course, this is first action, so this is at LBR with the insurance included. It's all it is, Mr. Speaker.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1598. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By 114 yeas and 7 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
The next one I'd like to call up House Bill 1601. Make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Again, this is first action. It's at LBR plus the insurance. And that's it, Mr. Speaker.
Questions?
Okay.
I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs House Bill 1601. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 103 yeas, 17 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Next item, I'd like to call up House Bill 1602. Make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Again, first House action. It's at LBR plus our insurance is in it.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1602. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 115 yeas, 5 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Mr. Speaker, go to item number 35, House Bill 1615. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Recognize the gentleman from Walthall to handle the bill.
Gentleman from Walthall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker, 1615 is the Board of Registry for Foresters. It's got a reverse repealer in it. It comes in at $44,129. Explanation of the bill.
Questions? Gentleman from Choctaw, Mr. Hood.
Amendment, Mr. Speaker.
An amendment?
Yes, sir.
All right. Gentleman from Washington. He's on the phone. You're recognized for an amendment. You recognize.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I've had an opportunity to speak to the chairman, and I've also spoke to the subcommittee chairman, so I'm not ambushing him when I come up here with this amendment. What it does is there's an appropriation of $44,000 for the Forestry Board, and my amendment is to make that zero. And the reason why I brought this bill in front of you is I have a constituent in Webster County who had some timber that was cut. He's a 90-year-old veteran. He went to court and got a judgment. That judgment was for $20,000. He took that in front of the Registered Forestry Board, and all they did was suspend his license for 6 months. Lawyers, accountants, judges, real estate agents, they would go in front of these boards and we let them govern themselves. This body has allowed the Forestry Board to govern themselves, but we cannot have people's timber getting stolen with no repercussions. And so what this amendment does is makes their appropriation of $44,000 zero. Now, there is a reverse repealer in this bill, and this body did pass a bill earlier in the session to make them liable. But what I would like to do is let this bill work through the process. It will come back in front of this body and have us an opportunity to meet with the Forestry Board to see if they can govern themselves. This man is a 90-year-old individual who had timber stolen from him. So I'm asking this body to support this amendment. This appropriation will come back through in conference, and I have spoken with the chairman, and I have spoken with the subcommittee chairman, and I would ask that you would support this amendment as we move through the process.
Madam Clerk informs me there is a committee amendment that we do not have, and so we are in the process of trying to locate that. We have to adopt a committee amendment before we can proceed. So we have placed a call to the committee assistant. Give us just a minute. We're going to suspend business for a second and try to figure out where that amendment is and try to decide whether we can proceed or not.
Go down there and bring it up.
All right, we're informed that they're still searching for it, so I'm going to recommend we lay this bill on the table subject to call. Sir? Okay. I'm now informed that the attorney is handwriting it, so give us about 30 seconds, and then we'll proceed. All of y'all standing there looking at him, it puts pressure on him. All right, we now have it, ladies and gentlemen. So we have a committee amendment. We need to adopt the committee amendment. All in favor say aye, opposed nay, ayes have it. Now, we're in proper procedure. The gentleman has finished explaining his amendment. I'm going to recognize the chairman to respond.
We'll leave the gentleman's amendment to the will of the House.
All right, question, you wish to close, gentlemen?
Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I ask that you help send a...
You're going to close on an amendment
I'm closing on it.
that
Yes.
the chairman said he was okay with?
Yes. All right.
Said-
Got a question?
I think so, Robert asked a question. Rick.
Okay, just so y'all understand, we just voted on the committee amendment. We're now on the gentleman from Choctaw's amendment. The gentleman from Adams has been patiently waiting to ask a question. Would somebody answer his question?
Thank you, gentlemen. Gentleman yield.
I do.
On your amendment, and to your specific case, this gentleman, did he file a claim, a lawsuit in any court?
He did. There's a Chancery Court judgment in Webster County which awarded him $20,000. He took that to the Board of Registered Forestry, and all they did was suspend his license for 6 months.
All right, my point is that what you're suggesting, we're setting a precedent here, is that when you don't like a decision on the board, we're going to start holding appropriations on all these boards. That's fine if that's what we're going to do, because I got a whole list of them if we want to do that. And I think it's a dangerous precedent. So my question is, this has been litigated. A man has received compensation. He went before the board. What they decide to do is, in terms of punishment, has nothing to do with the judgment that he has received. Is that correct?
Gentlemen, he has not been compensated.
But you said he got a judgment in Chancery Court.
Just because you get a judgment doesn't mean you collect on it, gentlemen. And
Well, that's fine. I understand that. Now, but the board can't compensate him. Isn't that correct?
This board is set aside to review applicants, and is set aside to allow individuals who have a license to whether or not they are fit to have a license. And the board of the bar, the accounting, nursing, all that, if there's a complaint against you, we allow these boards to govern themselves.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's what they're there for. And they're there, the oil and gas board, the forestry board, people who participate in those industries go before those boards, and those boards exact a penalty based on the information that they had. And what you're telling me is that you don't think that the judgment that this board rendered was representative of the act that was committed.
Absolutely.
And so your answer is to come before on the floor of the House and ask us to hold, which is, I understand your frustration. I just want the House to know that we got complaints laying out there, and that I want the chairman of appropriation to since he's not against this, that when we come with complaints because a board has been has acted in a callous manner, that this is a procedure we're going to use. Are you okay with that?
Gentlemen, what I'm okay with and not okay with is when individuals that are veterans, they're older, and they have stuff that is stolen from them, and this board is set with the responsibility to review it, and they make a decision like that. We've done this before in the past. I think we've zeroed out budgets before. This bill has a reverse repealer in it. It's not going to go straight over to the Senate. But my motion here today is to make it zero amount at this time.
What about an older black man who's not a veteran and they stole oil off his land and they didn't pay him for it? You gonna be okay with taking money from the oil and gas board? Because I got 4 or 5 of those.
Well, gentlemen, I'll definitely listen to whatever complaints you have.
I mean, it's not a category. These are all Mississippi citizens. I'm not gonna judge them based on whether they fought in the war or they didn't. They've been done wrong. If we're going to hold boards accountable, let's hold them accountable across the board. We okay with that?
Absolutely, Joe.
All right, thank you.
All right, I don't see any further questions. Question now occurs on amendment number 2. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The noes have it, the noes have it. Anything further on the bill?
Move final passage.
Any questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1615. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted Close the machine, Madam Clerk. Vote 106 yeas, 11 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to item number 51, House Bill 778. Call it up, make the usual motions.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed, read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Recognize the gentlelady from amid, Ms. Cockerham.
Lady from the midst, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, House Bill 778 is the appropriation for the local law enforcement and firefighters' death benefits. It provides $5 million to the Department of Public Safety for death benefits for local law enforcement officers and for firefighters who died in the line of duty due to COVID-19. You must be covered under America's First Responders Act of 2020 and comply with the rules of ARPA. And that's an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker. I do have an amendment.
You recognize for an amendment.
Thank you. It's just simply, ladies and gentlemen, a reverse repealer. That's an explanation of the amendment.
Questions? Gentleman from Tishomingo, Mr. Carpenter. Question on the amendment. Reverse repealer.
Oh, no, on the bill, Mr. Speaker, on the bill.
Questions on the amendment? I don't see any. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Questions on the bill. Gentleman from Tishomingo, Mr. Carpenter.
Gentlelady Gill.
Yes, gentlemen.
Could you repeat that dollar amount?
It was $5 million.
Okay, so per incident, you just funding the account at $5 million?
Yes,
Okay,
just funding the program. Yes, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurred in House Bill 778. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 117 yeas and 1 nay, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Item number 52, House Bill 1517. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed, read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Recognize the senior gentleman from DeSoto, Representative Hale, to handle the bill.
Gentleman from DeSoto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Workforce Development House Bill 1517 in Section 1, it appropriates $40 million to the Office of Workforce Development to be funded through funds made available by the legislative from federal ARPA funds. Section 2, $16 million is appropriated for the direct training related to health care. Under Section 2, again, $16 million is appropriated for the direct training and related to emerged sectors such as advanced manufacturing, cyber, fiber, electric vehicles, and any other data analytical and management. Under Section 2, $2.8 million is appropriated for the direct training for related logistics and supply chains. Still under Section 2, $4 million is appropriated for the direct training and Pacific populations. Last one on number 2 is $1.2 million is appropriated for the Department of Program and Monitoring. Section 3 is the reporting requirements. Number 4 is to adhere to the ARPA rules. Section 5 is reporting requirements again. And Section 6, we did add a reverse repealer that the clerk has.
Questions? Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman Yield.
Yes, sir.
First question is, when did you become the senior member from DeSoto County?
Yeah, exactly.
So here's the question. Most of those workforce development programs, are you aware that they don't have any accountability framework in place?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Are you aware that most of those workforce development programs don't have any accountability framework in place?
That is true.
Yeah, well, this bill has $1.2 million for program monitoring.
It does have $1.2 million in it for...
No. I'm not asking for money. This is what I'm asking for. I'm asking for some accountability. It has been brought to my attention that some of those workforce development have gotten up to $2-3 million and have not had one successful graduate. Some of them have not even had full classes, and we've been continuing to pay them the money that grant funding, and we have had no accountability, no reports on actual graduates and sustainability. Is there something in that bill that speaks to that, and we will not be wasting taxpayers' dollars?
Okay.
Gentlemen, are you aware there are people who've been arrested for not doing what they've been
Yes,
paid
sir, I
to do
am.
in this
I'm
state?
just getting the facts here.
All right, so I'm asking you, will you, as we process through this, put some form of accountability in there? There have been dollars from this state, federal dollars have been coming to the state for certain programs, and people have stolen them. There are certain organizations and nonprofits in this state receiving money and not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Are we going to have some form of accountability in this piece of legislation?
Yes, sir. And this does have a reverse appealer, and when it goes to conference, we can look at it again.
Okay, because I'm going to be coming for you for this one now.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Jump from hat, Mr. Brown.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
For the last 2 years, I have been submitting bills that would expand the workforce development funding to private community organizations that got a track record in workforce development. I have not seen any traction of us giving any money to the organizations in the various communities statewide, other than giving the money to the junior colleges, which are already loaded with workforce development money. Is there anything in this particular bill to help expand to our community and various local organizations who already got a track record in workforce development?
Yes, sir. That's exactly what we're talking about.
Oh, really?
Really.
I must have missed it.
I'm sorry?
I must have missed it. Well, if that's what it is, I want you to point it out to me, please.
Yes, sir. I'll let you know.
All right, I don't see any further questions.
Final passage.
Madam Clerk indicates you have a committee amendment. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. I don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question recurs on House Bill 1517. Favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 118 yeas and 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to item number 53, House Bill 1518. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed, read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Recognize the gentlelady from Lincoln,
Lady from
Representative
Lincoln
Curry.
is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1518, and I need to add the amendment. And I understand that you guys have it. It is to amend on line 13. It says House Bill 841 on the bill, but it should have been House Bill 453. It was a mistake.
Questions on the amendment? I don't see any. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it.
And also an amendment for a reverse repealer, Mr. Speaker.
Questions? I don't see any. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Both amendments are adopted.
Thank you. This is the bill that we talked about, the big funds that are going to go in for our tourism goals of making sure that we get money to counties that have a tourism department, and it is at $25 million, and that is my explanation of the bill.
Questions? Jump from Forest, Mr. Watson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the gentlelady will yield.
Yes, sir.
I received a phone call this morning from a very well-informed constituent who read a number of bills that this body has been considering, and actually read the language that's apparently in this bill, that this act shall take effect and be in force from and after July 1, 2022, and shall stand repealed on June the 30th, 2022. Could you explain why that language shows up in so many bills that are being considered right now by the legislature?
I'm going to have to ask the appropriation chair.
All right, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, they're going to conference.
They're going to conference?
All of them, yes, sir.
Okay, and so that means that once it's sent over to the Senate, when will this body see that bill, or will this body ever see that bill?
On final passage.
Well, now we're in final passage right now. When would this body ever see this bill again?
The conference report, you've been through this like me, the conference report, but if I'm explaining the bill, I will explain it all to you.
Okay, you will explain it.
Yes, sir.
In my reading of the bills, and I know you are not chairman of appropriations,
Yes,
but
sir.
it appears that the vast majority of the bills that we are considering now has the reverse repeal, or it's not necessary to put that language in the bill in order to address it in conference, is it?
What I'm being told is that all the ARPA fund bills are going to conference because both sides right now don't agree on the amount. So
Okay.
it's going to be decided ongoing and decided on in conference, how much of the ARPA funds are going to be spent.
So all of those bills are going to conference?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Gentleman from Pearl River, Mr. Owen. Passes. Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Eubank.
Introduction out of order.
All right, I don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1518. You favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Everyone voted. Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 116 yeas, 6 nays, the bill passes. Gentleman from DeSoto is recognized for introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, if you'll help me welcome our mayor from Hernando, Mr. Chip Johnson. He's sitting up in the North Gallery next to Senator Mike McClendon.
Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to item number 54, House Bill 1521. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. You got a committee substitute?
Yes, sir.
Want
Wish
it?
to adopt a committee as such.
Gentleman moves committee substitute be adopted for consideration of the original bill. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, this comes to you, House members. This bill 1521 is the Nursing Education Incentive Program. And there's the funding and the appropriation from this is separate from any other appropriations to the Institution of Higher Learning. This purpose is providing funds for nursing education incentive programs that we created in House Bill 1005 that we passed earlier in the session this year. It'll be administered, or the Board of Trustees of the State Institution of Higher Learning would do this. This is a ARPA-related bill. The gentlelady from Lincoln explained to you earlier. This has a reverse repealer in it. It's going to conference. And we'll bring that final action back to you in the conference report. This is just keeping this alive and moving forward with the process so that we can get the money to these nursing programs. And that's an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1521. You favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 116 yeas and 5 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Call up item number 55, House Bill 1522. Make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have an amendment, and I believe the clerk has the amendment that we need to add, just simply as a reverse repealer to this.
Questions on the amendment? I don't see any. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentlemen, anything further?
I have it on the bill. Yes. Let me explain the bill. Community and Junior College Nursing Supplemental Funding Program. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the same as the IHL bill we just voted on. It's the same thing. It's only for the community and junior colleges. It's a supplemental funding program. It has appropriates $10 million to the Community College Board and the Community Junior College Nursing Supplemental Funding Program for the expansion of their programs. We voted on this in House Bill 1006 earlier in the session, and this is the funding for that bill, and that's an explanation, Mr. Speaker.
I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1522. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 116 yeas and 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Mr. Speaker, item number 56, House Bill 1537. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Recognize the gentleman from the Neshoba, Representative Bounds.
Gentleman from the Neshoba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have an amendment at this time for a reverse repealer. I believe the clerk has it.
Questions? I don't see any. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Anything further on the bill?
Yeah, just real quick, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, this is the appropriation vehicle for House Bill 1425 that we passed last week that establishes a grant program at DEQ for wastewater. This just puts into that grant program, and this first action with reverse repealer, $171 million, and that's an explanation of the bill.
Question. Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott.
Was the gentleman here?
Yes.
Gentlemen, we have seen in the newspaper over the last 2 or 3 months where there has been some discussion about the desperate need that we have for wastewater dollars in these smaller cities, have we not?
And what, ma'am? I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
For water and sewer projects,
right.
Numerous for
correct.
The towns, cities, villages, and hamlets in the state.
Correct.
Okay, and so does this grant program allow for if Sweet Home has a emergency situation, is there any language that would allow for DEQ to consider addressing any town or small city that has an emergency situation and help them to get there?
Okay, so lady, I guess the question I got to ask, and maybe council can tell me, and now we talking an incorporated municipality like a city?
Well, I'm speaking in terms of the non-entitlement cities that the ARPA funds went to, and I wanted to know if, in fact, there was any special consideration for these small cities, because a lot of them, as you know, they did not get hardly any money. But let's say, for instance, Shubuta has a $635 million fix that they need,
right.
But they only got $90,000.
Okay. So council tells me, lady, and I don't have the vehicle in front of me, 1425 that we passed last week, but council tells me there is a limited population language in 1425 that does address the situations or towns that you are talking about, that they would be able to apply for these grant monies.
Okay, and then I want to ask you, gentlemen, because I know you trying to do everything you can to get more money. When the appropriators were discussing ARPA, the ARPA funds, and we know the 7 basic areas that that the Treasury Department identified initially, wastewater was one of those 7. Correct. So we know with the United States Treasury Department, that is a priority, right?
Wastewater, water, and broadband.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Those were priorities. And so my question to you is, in this bill, we're only giving starting out with $171 million for wastewater, but $200 million for drinking water. Do you know could you explain maybe what was the thinking of the appropriators when they did that?
Gentlemen, I think that, lady, as you stated, and when you asked the question, you said starting out, we're only putting 171 in it. This is first action on this bill. There's differences between what us and the Senate think should go into it. So certainly as we move forward, if we have the funds, if we make that a priority to have the funds to put more into the wastewater programs or drinking water or whatever we put into broadband, that's what we'll do. But this is just a starting point, lady.
And then now, this bill does not require any kind of match for the.
This bill just puts into the fund $171 million. It doesn't have any stipulations of the grants or anything else in it. House Bill 1425, which established the grant program last week, has the criteria for which they be applied. Now, I'm going to say that if a community had if a community had matching funds for grants, I'm sure it would be considered higher, but that's not going to be a go all tell all. It's going to be based upon the need.
But in the bill that we passed last week, it did not have any match language in it.
Lady, I don't think it did. It just established the grant program, and here again, we've got to get it through the process. Okay, thank you.
Don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1537. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're I'm sorry, lady. Closed machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 114 yeas and 2 nays, the bill passes. Lady, I apologize. I was not aware you had an amendment. If you will hold it on a motion, you can get with the chairman and see if he can amend it. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to item number 57, House Bill 1538. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Recognize gentleman from Pike, Representative Mills.
Gentleman from Pike recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, and ladies and gentlemen of the House. House Bill 1538 is the appropriation vehicle for the drinking water infrastructure grant program that we passed last week, which was House Bill 1425, which we appropriate today $250 million. Also, this bill appropriates $200 million to House Bill 1421, which was the Rural Water Association Infrastructure Grant Program. So this is the appropriations for those two pieces of legislation. That is the explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker. I do have an amendment at the proper time.
You have an amendment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker. My amendment, in which the clerk has, is a reverse repealer.
Question. I don't see any. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Any questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 1538. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By 119 yeas and 2 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Mr. Speaker, I ask we skip item number 58, move to item number 59, House Bill 1550. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I recognize the gentlelady from Amite to handle the next 2 bills.
Lady from Amite is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, House Bill 1550 is a deficit appropriation bill.
Excuse me, lady, I overlooked. This does have a committee sub. Do you wish to adopt it?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Lady moves committee substitute be adopted for consideration in lieu of the original bill. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. You're recognized, lady.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 1550 is a deficit appropriation bill. Section 1 is appropriating $39,400,000 from capital expense funds to DPS for the first phase of the construction of a new headquarters building. And then Section 2 is a deficit appropriation for the Department of Health for $9,852,684 from capital expense funds for the purpose of providing additional funds to the Office Against Personal Violence. This is to compensate for the loss of federal funds available to the state from the Victims of Crime Act Fund. And that's an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions? Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott. She passes. You pass? Oh, okay. Madam Clerk, she wants to hold that previous bill on a motion. That's what she was seeking recognition for, if you'll do that. Gentleman from Lauderdale, Mr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Chair, Lady Virginia.
Yes.
As you know, I mentioned in Subcommittee for Appropriations, there were two projects that I was concerned with. One was with G-Troop. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
One was with G-Troop, and as my understanding that we had a partial funding that we had allocated from the legislature two years ago. And my question was, were we completing the funding request for construction on G-Troop, which is Starksville? My second question is, with H-Troop in Meridian, there is a flood concern that we have there. They have a large hill behind the substation. The water comes off the hill and floods the rear parking lot. And there was a request for that. I've tried to talk with people at DPS. I haven't been able to get any answers regarding where we were with regard to those concerns. So my question is, are there any appropriations or considerations in either of these pieces that we're dealing with for DPS to take care of those concerns?
Well, you're right, gentlemen. You and I did talk extensively after subcommittee last month for DPS's hearing. And to answer your question with respect to H, this is for, and I believe that's the troop that it's in Lauderdale and Meridian. Is that correct? That is correct. Yes. So this is a deficit appropriation. It does not address that. And then with respect to your first question, yes, that would be relative to Starkville. I think that let me back up. There's no consideration for that particular troop in this bill. As you can recall, when we had our subcommittee hearing, we discussed that, you and I did, and I believe you also made some inquiries to the commissioner at that particular time, and he's looking into that. So I just want to reiterate, gentlemen, you did make those concerns during subcommittee hearing, and they're being taken into consideration. You're welcome.
Jump from Hines, Mr. Crudup.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the chair lady yield?
I will, yes.
I just have one quick question. The new DPS headquarters, where will they be located?
It's still in Rankin, right? Yeah, it's still in Rankin. It's going to be out there near the crime lab.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. I vote 113 yeas and 4 nays. The bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 60, House Bill number 1631. Call it up and make the usual motion.
Lady calls the bill up, moves the rules to be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Ladies recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, this is another deficit appropriation bill. I'll go through it very briefly, section by section. Section 1 is a deficit appropriation from the Capital Expense Fund in the amount of $1,398,000 to the AG's Office for Judgments, Settlements, and Fees. Section 2 is a deficit appropriation from the Capital Expense Fund in the amount of $675,000 to the AG's Office for Judgments, Settlements, and Fees. Section 3 is a deficit appropriation to the Wireless Communication for system maintenance from the capital expense fund in the amount of $606,242. Section 4 is a deficit appropriation in the amount of $25,000 from the capital expense fund to legislative services to defray the expenses of the Joint Commission on Reapportionment and for agency operations. Section 5 is a deficit appropriation in the amount of $103,113 from capital expense fund to the Veterans Affairs Board to pay an ACA penalty. Section 6 is a deficit appropriation for the Office of Student Financial Aid in the amount of $3,500,000 to defray administration of a summer grant program. Section 7 is a deficit appropriation for the Division of Medicaid in the amount of $500 million for federal matching funds for Medicaid medical services. And lastly, Section 8 is a deficit appropriation in the amount of $8,046,958 to DFA for additional funding for the Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, and this is going to be to NEUs. That's an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker. I'll yield for any questions. Oh, I do have a floor amendment as well at the appropriate time that I'd like to present, Mr. Speaker.
You're recognized for your amendment.
This amendment, ladies and gentlemen, just simply changes the figures on line 34 from 200,000 to 220,000. This was in the line appropriation for the deficit for the AG's office, and that's an explanation of the amendment, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the amendment? Lady from Jones.
I wanted to ask a question about these lawsuits, Mr. Speaker. So this is a lawsuit, right? This amendment?
No, the amendment it's related to that, but it's changing the amount.
Okay,
This
when
is
we
in
get back to
Section
the
2.
lawsuits, I want to ask a question about those. Thank
Okay.
you.
I don't see any further questions on the amendment. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Anything further on the bill?
I have nothing further on the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Did you have further question on the bill, lady?
Yes, thank you. Will the lady yield?
Yes, lady.
Okay, lady, these lawsuits, this one for the Olivia Y at $400,000, is this paying? Are these attorneys' fees for this deficit appropriation?
So this is going to be an attorney's fee, right? It is. I wanted to confirm it is.
Okay, and so it's attorney's fees for the Olivia Y as well?
It is, yes.
All right. And then I saw one on here, well, it's several on here that are attorney's fees. But I saw the one that we're doing with we have the case against us, the legislature, on the redistricting, and that one was only $25,000. Maybe we ought to consider hiring those lawyers. They were only 25 grand, and we got about $600 million with these other people.
Lady, I'm having a little bit of difficulty hearing you.
Lady, who is the law firm that's getting this $400,000 from Olivia Y?
I can provide that information to you, lady. The name of that firm, I don't have it before me, but I'd be happy. Any other additional information related to firms, lady from Jones, I'd be happy to provide that to you.
Okay, and my final question, this pharmacy that we had to settle with the Department of Corrections, do we know what that was about? It's almost $750,000. What
This is on lines, are you talking about lines 35 to 37?
Yes, what did we do wrong there?
I will have to provide that information to you, lady. As you know, what typically happens is the House and the Senate, and these may fluctuate because, as you can recall, with these deficit appropriations, when I presented them to the House, it usually has one amount in here. We work in conjunction with the AG's office because, as you know, the AG's office is thoroughly involved in any kind of settlements, et cetera. And so, like I said, any law firm that you may have a question about, I'll be happy to provide that for you.
Okay.
But these may change, lady, as we go through the process.
Okay, can we get those? And then the final, I was listening to the Senate briefly this morning. Their deficit appropriation for Medicaid was 400 plus million. Ours is 500. Is ours the one that's closest to what the Medicaid department needs, or are we just, this is going to just be negotiated, something else to negotiate?
Well, you just stated, lady, you know, the Senate is one, ours is like one off. And so it is something that the Department of Medicaid needs for the Medicaid eligible recipients as part of a federal match. And so we want to make sure, as you very well know, that if it's for these recipients who are on Medicaid, that we are making sure that the deficit appropriation from the state adequately meets the division's needs. But again, that may change, as I stated, with respect to the other ones, because this is the House position, that's the Senate's position, and it's going to be up to the two chairmen to determine what that final amount is going to be.
So does these agencies, the Attorney General's agency who handles, you know, makes these recommendations for these deficits, does the Division of Medicaid that tells us what they expected? I'm assuming that these people tell us what they expect the deficit to be, right?
So you're right. The division tells us, when I mention the AG's office, I'm strictly speaking relative to sections 1 and 2 of the bill. Sections 1 and 2 of the bill deal with judgments, fees, attorney's fees, settlements, etc. So when it comes to any other office or agency, then the two chambers, specifically I'm going to refer to our House Appropriation and LBO, they're communicating directly with that agency. When I talk about the involvement of the AG's office and working with LBO and the chairman, I'm strictly relegating my comments with respect to sections 1 and 2 of the bill.
So on sections 1 and 2, we can learn who's getting paid all this money, and we can find out from the Attorney General's office what the exact settlements are. And then for the Medicaid section, we should have a letter or some kind of communication from the people over there to tell us what that is.
We should.
Do you mind getting that for me?
I will work with the chairman, with LBO, and getting that information for you. Again, when it comes to, and I know that you had questions about the judgments, the settlements and fees, all of that is coordinated again with our AG's office and LBO and the chairman.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, lady.
You're welcome.
I don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs, House Bill 1631. You favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed to vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 105 yeas, 13 nays, bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to item number 61, Senate Bill 2966. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Chairman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed nay. The ayes have it.
Recognize the gentleman from Pike. Mr. Mims from handle the bill.
Gentleman from Pike.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, Senate Bill 2966 is a deficit appropriation for the Department of Revenue of $3.6 million. This is because we passed the medical marijuana legislation a few weeks ago, and so we are ready for the Department of Revenue to get started, and so they need this money to start this program. So that is the explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2966. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 111 yeas, 8 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before I ask this next bill to come up, will you please, I would like to ask for immediate release on that previous bill.
Any objection? Hearing none, we'll do that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 62, Senate Bill 2967. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Chairman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered engrossed read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, Senate Bill 2967 is a deficit appropriation of $3.8 million for the Department of Health due to the fact that we passed the medical marijuana program a few weeks ago. This is for them to get started, and they are ready to get started, and they need this money, so that is why we're here today. That is the explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2967. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. I vote 112 yeas, 7 nays. Bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will you please ask for immediate release on that piece of legislation?
Any objection? Hearing none, we will do that. Next item.
Appropriation yields.
Appropriation yields. Ways and Means. Chairman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We would go to, first item we'll take up, we'll skip to item 2, House Bill 426. Call it up and make the usual motion.
Chairman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. You recognize.
Thank you. This is a really simple bill. This is a bill that several members have filed for a year. This just exempts. We are in the minority of states that sales tax precious metals like gold and silver and things of that nature. And this removes the tax from that. There is an indication there is a lot of activity in the world of gold and silver trading and things of that nature that cannot or do not go on inside the state of Mississippi because of this tax, and it would cost the state a very minimal amount. So we've checked that with DOR, and that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions? I don't see any. Over the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on House Bill 426. You favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 121 yeas and 1 nay, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you. The next item is item 3, Senate Bill 2769. Call that bill up and make the usual motion.
Chairman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
We did have a committee amendment in this bill, and so I'll just explain all the amendments. But we have that on. Is that ready on the computer? Thank you. This bill exempts from ad valorem taxation property owned by university and community colleges foundations. Everywhere we could find, we're not taxing real property owned by college foundations, but there was a few incidents where there were some counties that were attempting to try to tax that property. So that just clears up the law in that regard. That's an explanation.
Questions on the bill? I'm sorry, you got a strike on. Questions on the strike on? I don't see any. If you favor the strike, all indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2769. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 122 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to skip around slightly. Item 5, House Bill 1663. I would call that bill up and make the usual motion.
Chairman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
This bill came to us late yesterday for the committee members. We have a unanimous consent, Mr. Speaker, and so there was a few typos that needed to be changed in this bill. There's a few lines that were included in the bill that need to be deleted, and there's a 5 that needs to be changed, or a 2 that needs to be changed to a 5, and just cleaning up those typos with unanimous consent.
Any questions? I don't see any. Any objection? Don't hear any. You're recognized.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, this is one of our bond vehicles for the session. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you what this bill does. This is 1663, and it includes most of the state agency bond requests. This has got IHL, community colleges, MDA, DEQ, Department of Health. Who am I leaving out? Yeah, we said that. Archives and History. That's right, and Mississippi Arts Commission are in this bill. There's going to be an amendment that I'm about to offer that would put a reverse repealer in the bill, and this is just basically standard ask from these agencies. This is to have a vehicle alive as we go through the process. Many of you who've been here for a number of years, y'all know how the bond process works. We normally would have a final piece of legislation sometime toward the end of the session and after conference weekend, but this is what this bill does. That's it.
Question.
Mr. Speaker, I do have an amendment.
All right. You recognize.
It just adds a reverse repealer to the bill. That's all it does.
Questions on the amendment? I don't see any. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Questions on the bill? I don't see any. On the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 114 yeas, 6 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
We'll go back to item 4, House Bill 1662. We'll call that bill up and make the usual motion.
Chairman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a bill that I'm excited about, and I hope it's a bill that can make its way through the process that I think we all can be proud of. This is a bill, since we don't know exactly what we're going to do by the way of projects and capital expenditure funds and cash, and that will play into all this, but what this bill does would authorize up to $60 million in bonds, less any amount we fund in cash toward this project to build a new Mississippi Museum of Military History on land that is owned by Camp Shelby. If any of you have ever been to Camp Shelby, then you know it is a special place in the state of Mississippi. There is a military museum there, but because of the remote nature of Camp Shelby, a lot of people don't know about the museum. I found this out this past year when I visited it. I was extremely impressed, but we found out that the National Guard does own land on Highway 49 that's adjacent to Camp Shelby. And so what this bill would do would construct a brand new Mississippi Museum of Military History out on Highway 49, would also serve as a new grand entrance to Camp Shelby, and it would make it much more accessible to our citizens, to our students, to educate them about the many heroic efforts of the people that have literally helped us have a state and a country here today. And it's a fabulous museum, and with this funding, it will be made much better and much more accessible to the public for our folks to learn about our history. And that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question recorded House Bill 1662. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 114 yeas and 6 nays, the bill passes.
Mr. Speaker, that is all for today. Ways and Means yields the floor.
Ways and Means yields. Takes us to the general calendar. All right, I don't see any takers. Announcements, Mr. Clerk. Announcements, Madam Clerk.
Accountability, efficiency, and transparency will meet after adjournment today in room 103. Conservation, Water Resources, full committee will meet 10 minutes after adjournment in 113.
Announcements by the members. Gentleman from Grenada, Mr. Horan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would request a unanimous consent to authorize journal entry exceeding 100 words for explanation of vote on item 60, House Bill 1631.
Thank you very much.
Any objection? Hearing none, we'll do that. Gentleman from Alcorn, Mr. Bain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the House would pay attention 1 second, a lot of members have asked me about suffrage bills. I do intend to take some up, and the Senate has said they will take some up as well. I'd like for you, if you have a suffrage bill, to have your information in by March the 4th. Legal Services has what you need. We need some time to get all the information back in. So March the 4th, it will be the deadline on that. I will follow this up with a letter next week, but March the 4th. Thank you.
Jim Choctaw, Mr. Hood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to hold item 35, House Bill 1650 on a motion.
Okay, we can do that. Gentleman from Lafayette, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to change my desk mate's vote on item 36, 1616 from yea to nay.
Any objection? Change your vote. Gentleman from Smith, Mr. Tullis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Adjourn in memory.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to adjourn in memory today for Mr. Peyton Tyler Stokes, a young man of 15 who took his own life yesterday, who lived in Smith County.
Thank you, sir. Gentleman from Adams, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like the House to help me adjourn in memory. Adjourn in memory of Miss Mozella Joyner of Raymond, Mississippi. She passed away this Saturday. She was my wife's mother. It was adjourn memory.
Sorry to hear that, gentlemen. We'll certainly do that. Jim Jackson, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Adjourn in memory.
Yes, sir.
I'd like the House to adjourn in memory of Miss Modesta McNeil of Moss Point, who passed away on yesterday.
Thank you, sir. We'll do that. Any further announcements? I don't see any. Mr. Clerk, you want to announce something?
We will have page pictures immediately after adjournment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right, I recognize the gentleman from Mock Tibble Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move this House stand adjourned until 9 a.m. in the morning.
Motion's to adjourn to 9 a.m. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. House adjourned till 9 a.m.